Hi everyone, today we're going to be talking about the religious wars or the 30 Years' Wars from 1618 to 1648. It was a battle between Catholics and the Protestants. The conflict happened because the Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, Ferdinand II, wanted to make his people Catholic. So he revoked the Letter of Majesty, a document that secured the rights of the Calvinists that was issued in 1609 by the previous Emperor Rodolph II. And the Protestants were not happy about it. The problem was that the Peace of Augsburg also did not include the religious freedom of the Calvinists, and that would make them open to persecution. So that led to the Defenestration of Prague, where Ferdinand sent government officials to converse with the Protestants. The Protestants threw the government messengers out the window in an attempted murder as a sign of protest, and they lived. They told the Emperor Ferdinand what happened. Ferdinand punished the Protestants by starting a war and engaged in the Battle of White Mountain, which was the first of the 4 phases of the 30 Years' War. And I used an acronym to remember them, which is babies don't sit firmly, babies for Bohemian, don't for Danish, sit for Swedish, and firmly for French. The Battle of White Mountain in Bohemian was a Catholic win. Then goes the second phase, the Danish phase. The Denmark king is Lutheran and invades the Holy Roman Empire to help his fellow Protestants. He loses the battle to the Catholics for a mercenary working for the Habsburgs called Albert von Wallenstein, which is a general in the battle. After the loss, the Protestants were forced to sign the Edict of Restitution in 1629, which gives back all of the church territories to the Catholics. Then the Swedish phase, my favorite phase, also known as the Protestant turning point, was when Gustavus Adolphus, the Swedish king, which was Lutheran, enters the wars and wins. There are 2 main reasons why Gustavus Adolphus wins the Swedish phase, and one of them is because he's the father of modern warfare, meaning that he uses mobile cannons, which were not used. So before they were fixed, and once you entered the battle or the battle started, you couldn't really move them. But he revolutionized how cannons were used, and now you can move them in battle. And the second reason is because he received support from the French. So as a wise man, Tom Ritchie once said, Swedish swords and French funds. I couldn't think of a better way to remember that, so let's just use Tom Ritchie's. Why would the Catholic French aid the Protestant side of the war? That is because the French wanted to be the greatest Catholic nation. And to do so, they needed to dethrone or weaken the Habsburgs, which were now tipping the balance of power because of how big they were. They were massive. They were surrounding the French. So Cardinal Richelieu, the French prime minister, saw this opportunity to get into the war and possibly weaken the Habsburg. And even though he was a Christian, as a politique, he thought that this would really bring his country forward. But the Swedish swords and French funds switched around to French fists and Swedish sacks because of Gustavus Adolphus' death. The Swedish phase was still won, and they were able to break the Edict of Restitution in 1629 and gain back the territory lost to the Catholics. The French phase. The Swedish will financially aid the French phase, as I said. French fists, Swedish stacks. It was an inconclusive win, but the Protestants did get the better end of the deal. It weakened the Habsburgs and strengthened the French. The Peace of Westphalia was signed in 1648. It weakened the Holy Roman Empire. Emperor taking away his control over the princes. The Dutch Netherlands were no longer with the Habsburgs. Brandenburg gains territory, leads to the rise of Brandenburg Prussia. Alsace goes to France. Switzerland becomes an independent confederation. The Calvinists are now accepted. Rulers of the Holy Roman Empire may choose between Calvinist Lutheranism and Catholicism. Freedom of private worship is also rewarded for the people that live in kingdoms that do not allow Calvinism or Lutheranism. The Holy Roman Empire is weaker and the balance of power tips over to the French from the Habsburg. This is basically all of the 30 Years' War, which ends the wars of religion, and it's really a major turning point for Calvinists. And that's really it. Bye.